I would love to learn a little bit about you. I know from Mary Beth, she said great things about you. So
That's
I'm
kind
really excited to hear more.
I serve as the board chair for COSIN, which is the K-12 professional organization for CTOs. I'm very excited about that. My undergraduate's in business and thought that's what I wanted to do with my life, and turned out that I wasn't really happy or fulfilled, and decided that I really liked it when I was volunteering in school. So I went back and got a teaching degree and changed careers. I taught at a Catholic school downtown Cleveland. I taught at public schools. I ended up being asked if I would take the position of the technology director at a school district. And the biggest qualification I had for it at the time was that I was the first teacher in the state of Ohio to teach with a classroom set of iPod touches, and had gotten asked to share what that was like. And people always say, why did you pick the iPod touch? It's because the iPad had yet to be invented. So I did that, and took the job as a technology director. Fully loved every minute of it. Designing new systems and processes like blended learning. I wrote a grant that the state funded. We were one of 6 in the state of Ohio that got this grant. That gave us waivers from some state laws around attendance and different things, so that we could try implementing new models and do it kind of like a research project with it too, to see what worked. So we designed some blended learning models at our high school. Got my master's degree in educational administration, and then started consulting and literally doing across the US what I was doing in our district, and helping. I designed a consortium of independent schools in the San Francisco Bay Area. I worked with Jewish day schools, New Jersey, urban and rural schools in Georgia, and then was asked to help design and build a fully online school for profoundly gifted students that was out of Nevada. It was online before COVID. It was online during COVID. It's online today. I served as the consultant for them for about 3 years, and then eventually did hire out as the director full time, just because when I was helping schools and working as a consultant, I worked for myself. Traveled 287,000 miles, like airline miles in 1 year, and I was tired. And so they're like, "We want to hire you full time." And I'm like, "Oh, I only have to go one place. That would be lovely." So I did that for about 5 years, got my doctorate in educational technology. I loved every minute of it. I love the school. But after designing it and being the director, it went from an idea that a philanthropist had that I brought to life, to a school that's fully functioning. And now I've effectively worked myself into the role of a principal. And I was like, this is not what I wanted to do with my life. I like the creating, I like helping, I like seeing people get new learnings. Literally the whole reason I got into teaching in the first place. And so I joined the Learn 21 and started the EdTech Leaders Alliance with them. Learn 21 is a nonprofit based in Ohio. I was a member of that organization when I was teaching and an administrator in Ohio. And then I served on their board of directors over the years. And so they created a position for chief academic officer, and they hired me. And then I started the EdTech Leaders Alliance through them. And the EdTech Leaders Alliance is the home for the Ohio COSIN chapter. We have a partnership with ISTE. We are a CETA affiliate. And we also serve as the alliance for the Student Data Privacy Consortium, and do the DPA work for over 2/3 of the school districts in the state of Ohio. And then in July of this year, we actually just signed on the state of Colorado through the case in a project called Connective, and we do the data privacy work for the schools in the state of Colorado as well. And so I'm the executive director over that work. That's what pays me. COSIN doesn't pay me. But I'm deeply passionate about the work that COSIN does, because I think it really matters for education. Like, it's when I was first a tech director and when I was a teacher teaching with the iPod touches, I was, ISTE member, and I knew all about ISTE because it's big and it's flashy. And later, really learned about COSIN and how it helps commit and help schools solve data privacy, cybersecurity, safe and effective AI implementations, interoperability, all of those things that we have to have, that grounds the cool, pretty stuff that we do in the classroom. And when I go places, people are like, "Oh, you really love COSIN." And I'm like, "Yeah, but you need to understand, I don't get paid. I do this as an extra add-on. I have a full-time job plus this." Yeah.
Well, one, congratulations. That's a hell of a resume right there.
I'm older than I look.
Congratulations on that too. That's a secret right there. I have so many questions to ask you right now. I mean, like, NISCADE obviously is a big focus for us. We're so excited to work with them, get exposed more to the community there, and really just help support educators throughout the community too. What do you think people need to know? I mean, like, it's about to be 2026. Everyone has bought into this AI concept, for better or for worse, right? I think there's both sides of the coin, and we're big believers in AI. Both my organizations are every single day we're entrenched in AI. But I think like most, and you probably know this too, education is the copycat industry, right? Well, it looks good in one cylinder. It's like, oh, well, everyone needs this, and let's invest a lot of time and effort into this. And it's one day in and one day out, ultimately. We're not really preparing sustainability for our communities. We know that for our teachers because you're seeing the retention rates and for our administrators as well. Like, what do people need to know right now going to 26?
So, I'm gonna just put a link in the chat
Yeah.
for you because you asked me a question that I have an entire presentation on. So, one of the things, so I do this presentation, it's called Beyond the Buzz, and it's developing an AI strategy that works. And I've done it in several different states. And what I talk about when I do this presentation, I open up by saying, look, I'm not going to talk about a single AI app. I'm literally going to talk about the infrastructure and the things that you need to know to make this successful and to do a really good implementation. And if you're looking for 50 apps in 50 minutes, there are 40 of those sessions happening at this conference. So please feel free to go to one of those. And typically, the first time I did it, I really only said that because I wanted people to know I wasn't going to start saying, oh, use this app, use this app. And then all of a sudden, like everybody clapped. And I was like, oh, I must be onto something because I thought people were going to get up and leave to go find 50 apps in 50 minutes, and they didn't. And so, a couple of things that I think are really, really important in this presentation. First one is on slide 26, which shows growth and relative concentrations of AI technology. So you're right. Education is notorious for this worked in business. Let me try to find a way to make this work, even though I have different data security requirements and I have a different audience. And so this slide is really powerful. It shows the growth in AI technologies by industry from 2016 to 2024. And the purple line, which is the top line, is technology, information, and media. And it makes sense that AI is growing in the technology field. But the number two most growth for AI in industry is education. And that's crazy. And so we have to get a handle on what we're doing. Our biggest data privacy issues that we face in education, I say this in a couple of different presentations I do, is great teachers making bad decisions for the right reasons. So a teacher goes to a conference, they visit the vendor hall, they get a free water bottle, the app is free, just load up all these email addresses, and you have this new AI tool and it's going to transform students' lives. And it is, but probably not in the way that you intended. So I think it's really hard. Teachers do that because they care about the students that are sitting in front of them. They do that because they're trying to move students farther faster, and they don't understand the data privacy implications. So I think we have to talk to teachers about what our responsibilities are. We don't need to bore them. They need to understand the consequences of making some of these decisions and help us turn tech departments into the Department of No, KNOW, and not the Department of No, NO. You can't do this because. The other thing that's really important in this presentation that I think, and you can stop me, just shut me up at any time because you just put me on a soapbox, is understanding. And COSIN has a tool that's completely free. It's called the AI Maturity Model, and it does a great job of helping schools go through where they are at and where they're ready and where they're not for AI implementation. So it's a ginormous rubric that looks at executive leadership, operational readiness, data readiness, technical security, legal risk, and then academic AI literacy pieces. So that's a really good tool for a leadership team to go to together. AI cannot be one person's job. Like, we have to do this together. Also, we have to create parallel paths in line with our current cybersecurity policies, our current data privacy policies, and not alternative paths for AI. So when we need to integrate it in the systems instead of doing something different. And then the biggest piece that I'll get on my soapbox about here is stop trying to use plagiarism checkers because they don't work. They show bias and that they're going to get the wrong kids. So there's a whole section in here about what to do instead of using AI checkers and how to build authentic assessments and different resources. So I think we don't need to stop. We can't stop, but we need to slow down. The other reason I say that we can't stop, and again, shut me up anytime you want,
Yeah.
is our organization does a newsletter. It's completely free. We have about 16,000 subscribers across the US. I'm proud of that, but I'm more proud of the fact that our open rate is over 50%, which is really great for a newsletter. The August 21st edition, on that link that I just sent you, I wrote an article, and I used Texas as an example. I could do the same exact article in every single state, but it took long enough to write the Texas one. I don't want to do it 49 more times. But basically, this article looks at what does, because we always talk about, hey, teachers need to do this in the classroom, teachers need to do that in the classroom. Well, number one, teachers don't control what they teach in the classroom. That's controlled by the curriculum department, which is told by the state department what teach courses kids need to have. So the Department of Education tells universities in the US, I don't know exactly how it works in Canada, what you need to get a teaching license. So the state universities that offer teaching degrees align those to what the Department of Education wants. Then those teachers go into schools and they teach. But in order for a kid to get a high school diploma, that again comes from the Department of Education. This is what you have to teach. And then the school board can have a little bit of difference on it. So I take that trail of what a teacher has to have to be a teacher, to what a student has to be to get it, to what the World Economic Forum says in their most recent Future of Jobs report. A student needs to be successful past high school and look and show where that misalignment is along the path. And so AI is not a skill we have to teach to get a high school diploma, but it's a skill you have to understand to be successful and to get a job and not be outsourced. So
So what you just touched on it is so interesting because this is what's I think everyone there's two sides of the coin here, right? One side of the coin is like, oh, we're going to do it because we've always done it this way, and we know how that goes. And the other side of the coin is we know we need to do it a better way, but we don't really know where to start. That's the most important one to drill down on today. Like my question is always in education is like, it's the opportunity cost. So I'm very fascinated, even from your side, like if you're a kid today and you know exactly what you know now, but you're sitting in a seat, do you even show up for school anymore? And that's a really scary thought, right? In a very traditional setting, I had this conversation a lot. I feel uncomfortable even saying it out loud because we're all believers in school. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here, right? Public and private education. In that sense, what am I going there for, right? Like I have this access of information that you and me never had when we were kids, right? In the everyday classroom. If I'm getting I don't want to say dictated, that's the wrong word. But if I'm going through this drill and kill experience bell to bell, what am I really getting out of this and how is it preparing me? Is it just giving me a piece of paper just to enter the next piece of the game, which is university, service, or job market? Or can I jump out way earlier than that, which you're seeing right now? And it's not just the kid on TikTok and YouTube, that's grossing $1 million a month, right? Doing unboxing toys at this point, right?
right.
Like, they're really building industry knowledge and access from their bedroom. And I think like my question always is like, are schools truly ready for transformation? Are they the ones that are going to change? Or is the market going to dictate it? Meaning like you're seeing what's happened with the FAs and ESAs, you're seeing the homeschool bubble pops, like the pods that popped up throughout COVID and still remain to this day. Like which side gives first in this equation? I think AI is just another one of those examples, but it's one of those real things that could expedite one side or the other pushing forward.
Yeah, and I was on a panel yesterday. No, I'm sorry, Wednesday. Today's Friday. I flew home yesterday at the Stanford Learning Accelerator, and the panel was all about designing future-ready schools. Like, what do we need to do to design future-ready schools? One of the panelists was Mackenzie Price, who's the CEO of Alpha School, which is and then the other one was Ken Montgomery, who started design tech out of Oracle. And one of the things I say in the presentation, because a lot of people are like, "Oh, because I'm a big supporter of public schools. I'm a first generation college graduate. I believe in the power of education to change lives. But one of the things that I say, they're like, oh, you must be against these other models. I say, I'm absolutely not, because there are schools that are broken and they're broken for individual students, though it may be a good school, it may not fit for the individual student. I said, so that I think this is what's driving the vouchers. I think this is what's driving school choice. It's parents that are not finding satisfaction for what they believe their child needs in their local public school. And the thing one of the slides I have in that presentation is I say, let's face it, there's nothing a parent would want more than to push a kid out a door at 7:30 in the morning, have a little yellow school bus roll down the road, pop them in, they go away, and they are educated. They learned, how to be a decent human being. They're challenged, and what they're learning is relevant for their lives. And then, 7.5 hours later, little yellow school bus rolls down the street, kid pops out, just happy, fulfilled, satisfied, feeling like they matter and that they can make a difference. So, the parents that are sending their children somewhere else don't believe they can get that experience from their local public schools. People take the path of least resistance until they believe that path will no longer get them to their destination. So those parents that are arguing for vouchers, that are arguing for alternative schools for their kids, that are going to Alpha School or going to Design Tech, don't believe their local public school is going to get their kid to that next destination, which is success in life. And so that's why you see these models be successful. So I think that's, every school that I set up in my consulting career that was successful is because they were able to operate under some type of different structure. The independent schools in the Bay Area, very easy for them to do things different than the local public schools. The found the online school for profoundly gifted students that I built, it was a public school, but they had waivers from many state laws that allowed us to do things differently. There was nothing that we did in that school that wouldn't be good for a way more bigger group of students, a larger population of students. But the other schools in the state of Nevada don't have the leeway to do those things. And so, and I'll just give one easy example. Like at that school, I believe I've been gone 2 years now. I think it was 60% of the teachers had to be licensed certified teachers from the state of Nevada. The other 40% didn't have to have a teacher license. And most people go, "Oh my God, that's crazy. Why would you want somebody without a teacher license?" Well, because I hired a person with a PhD in math that can teach math beyond high school maths, and so that's why you don't want a high school math teacher. I got a kid that needs 3 years of math after multivariable calculus. Who with a high school math teaching license can do that for me? And so where we another motto that I have is every rule, process, and procedure we put in place today has the potential to be a barrier to innovation tomorrow. So that teacher licensure requirement is a barrier to innovation for school. Seat time requirements, barrier to innovation to school. The structure of the state saying this is what you have to get a high school diploma. That's a barrier to innovation because you may have districts that say, wow, I want to do 5 computer science courses. I taught history and math, and I don't think kids need 3 years of history or 4, depending on the state, to get a degree. Well, let's cut the history down to a year and a half or 2 years or whatever that is and fill that in with computer science requirements or AI requirements. But that district doesn't have the ability to make that. Those rules, policies, and procedures at the federal level or at the state level, sorry, are impinging on their ability to create students the path they need for tomorrow.
So I'll ask you one more on this one because this is a rabbit hole we're going down, and it's fantastic. On that side, and we're definitely going to continue this conversation at Nicegate when I say it. But on that side of it, if you were opening a school today, what would be the first thing you do?
Honestly, the first thing I would do is hire people that I know will be creative and come up with alternative ways of doing things. So I literally did that when I did DAO because I ran into the Davidson Academy has a physical school in Reno. They wanted to make an online version of it. And the philanthropists and the leadership team there said, if you could build the ideal school with no budget, what would it be? And that's what I did. And it's my kids had just graduated from high school, when I was finishing this. And they were like, why didn't you not build this when I was there? Because I built the school that I wanted my kids to go to. I built the school that I wanted to work at, and I built the school that I wanted to be an administrator at. And so one of the things, there are 3 principles that I think were very important in doing that is teachers need non-evaluative feedback for growth. If the person that's coming into my classroom to evaluate me is the one that's coming in to give me feedback is the one that's doing my evaluation, I'm not going to try something new. I know what I'm going to get if I do the same thing I did yesterday. And if my job depends on this and my pay scale depends on this, I'm going to do something that I know is going to meet expectations, not exceed, not take a risk, not go out there. So the person that's doing teacher evaluations needs to be a coach, a curriculum expert that's giving them feedback for growth and not somebody that's evaluative for their job performance. Second, we need to have personal accountability over anonymity. So right now, social media gives us the right to pick a screen name and, say whatever we want about somebody with no repercussions. That can't happen in a structure where you want people to be successful. You need people to take personal accountability for the words that they say and for the ideas that they have and how they impact others. You'll get people to work together as a team and to build a culture of trust when they know that I'm going to come talk to you if I have a problem. We get out of this call and let's just say, you said something super offensive and I go on social media and start blasting you. That doesn't help you and I build that relationship. So I need to say, hey, Evan, I didn't like the way you said this. Let's have a talk about it. So building a culture where they have that piece, and that doesn't happen very easily. It takes time and commitment. And then the third thing that I would build in a school is what I call the human first approach. And so we have our rules, policies, and procedures. And sure, maybe it's late policies, 10% off a day, but maybe somebody's, mom was admitted to the hospital last night and they, don't have a parent home or somebody was deported. And that kid comes to school the next day and I'm taking 10% off because they didn't do their homework. What am I teaching them? I'm not putting that human first. Yeah, have your handbook. You have to have a handbook. You can't run a school without a master schedule. I'm not saying you don't need any, rules, policies, or procedures, but look at the person that's sitting in front of you. Evan, what happened last night? How can I help you? I see that this isn't normal. Okay, what else do you need to be successful? Maybe Evan doesn't need homework for 2 weeks because he's got something else going on. Can Evan never be successful because I didn't give him homework for 2 weeks? No, that's ridiculous. So what do I need to do for the human that's sitting in front of me to help empower them to be the best versions of themselves today, tomorrow, and 10 years from now? So,
I love it. That's your mic drop right there on that side.